Before the controlled chaos, the orchestrated slides, and the stadiums packed with roaring fans, there was nothing. Just empty roads, echoing with the lonely hum of tires. Then, a revolution ignited. A rebellion against the straight and narrow. A dance with gravity. A dialogue with asphalt, whispered in sheets of tire smoke. This is the story of how that silent symphony became a global phenomenon. This is the story of drifting. And at its heart, a man who dared to defy convention, to bend the rules of physics to his will, Keiichi Tsuchiya. This is the story of how a boy with a penchant for sideways action became a man who redefined the limits of automotive performance. A new beginning for Keiichi Tsuchiya. In the small village of Tome, surrounded by beautiful landscapes and calming hot springs, a legend was born in 1956. They say Keiichi Tsuchiya came into the world with a unique twist, arriving sideways, hinting at the extraordinary path he would follow. While Tommy was known for its natural beauty, it was the nearby winding roads called toge that truly attracted thrill seekers. By the late 1960s, these mountain passes had become a playground for speed enthusiasts, with Datsun 510s and Honda S600s pushing their limits. These daredevils, known as Hashiria, were drawn to the dangerous curves, their hunger for speed insatiable. Early fascination. Young Keiichi was fascinated by the roar of engines echoing through the night. Inspired by those fearless drivers, he set out on an incredible journey, pedaling his bicycle a tough 120 miles to see the excitement of racing firsthand at Fuji Speedway. There, he watched Keiichi Tsuchiya, a name that would become famous for drifting, pushing his car to its absolute limit. That day sparked a lifelong passion in Keiichi. Kunimitsu Takahashi, or Kuni-san, was a giant in the world of motorsports. He started his career on motorcycles, becoming the first Japanese rider to win the West German Motorcycle Grand Prix. However, a near-fatal accident during the dangerous Isle of Man TT made him rethink his path, leading him to switch from 2 wheels to 4. Luck was also on Kuni-san's side. As he recovered from his ordeal, Nissan, attracted by his motorcycle prowess, extended an olive branch. In 1965, he traded his leathers for a racing suit, marking the end of his 2-wheeled career. Behind the wheel of Nissan's prototype race cars, the R380, R381, and R382, he shattered lap records. But it was the iconic Hakosuka GTR that truly ignited the passion of a nation. The early 1970s found Kuni-san in the cockpit of the Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR, the heart of a lion caged in a racing shell. Yet his greatest challenge wasn't his competitors, but the treacherous tarmac beneath him. Tire technology was decades behind the power these cars unleashed. To tame these beasts, most drivers opted for caution, tiptoeing around corners. But Kuni-san, forged in the crucible of motorcycle racing, was cut from a different cloth. Instead of timidly approaching corners, he embraced chaos. With a heavy foot and a clear aim, he introduced controlled slides, transforming fear into exhilaration. Tires howled, smoke billowed, and a nation watched in awe as a new form of motorsport was born. His legend grew with every corner, inspiring a generation of young drivers, including a wide-eyed Keiichi Tsuchiya. Now heavily inspired by Kuni-san's audacious driving, a young Keiichi Tsuchiya dreamed of conquering the same mountain roads. Saving every yen, he yearned for the day he could slide his own car through the treacherous corners. Then came the Nissan KPGC 110 GTR, the legendary Ken Murray. For many, it was a dream car. For Tsuchiya, it was destiny. Or so the story goes. Some say his first car was a more modest Nissan Sunny. Regardless, the path to racing glory wouldn't be straightforward. The perilous UC Pass was no playground. Tsuchiya chose solitude over competition, spending countless weekends honing his craft on remote farmlands. 4 years of relentless practice Mastering heel-to-toe and countersteering forged an unbreakable bond between driver and machine. Finally ready to face his rivals, Tsuchiya stormed the mountain passes. His opponents were no match for a man possessed. Cornering with audacious slides, he quickly earned the title of King of the Mountain. His legend grew, echoing beyond the winding roads. By 1977, the world of professional racing beckoned. His professional racing career started, yet the spirit of the outlaw racer remained his guiding star. This is the man who would later introduce the world to drifting, become a D1 Grand Prix judge, and earning the title of Drift King. The journey was audacious. Starting in the Fuji Freshman Series, a cutthroat training ground for aspiring racers, Tsuchiya piloted humble Toyota Starlets and Nissan Sunnies. With limited horsepower, he relied on raw skill to outmaneuver his opponents. His talent was undeniable, and victories soon followed, attracting the attention of sponsors. Constrained by underpowered cars, Tsuchiya yearned for more. A deal was struck: win the championship, and a new car awaited. And of course, he delivered. So in 1984, he stepped into a Toyota Corolla, an unassuming sedan with a secret weapon, a twin-cam fuel-injected engine. The 1980s was a strange time for Japanese cars. Manufacturers were ditching complex rear-wheel drive setups in favor of simpler, fuel-efficient front-wheel drive models. The Mitsubishi Mirage, Honda Civic, and Toyota Tercel were symbols of this shift, marking a somber decline for the sports car era. But amidst this bleak landscape, a glimmer of hope emerged. Toyota AE86. Before the Mazda Miata captured the hearts, there was a Toyota Corolla AE86. Toyota defied convention, splitting the Corolla lineup into two distinct paths. On one side, a mundane front-wheel drive economy car. On the other, a rear-wheel drive sport-tuned marvel with a sprightly 1.6-liter engine. This was the AE86, a plucky underdog with a champion's heart. For Keiichi Tsuchiya, it was love at first sight. His mountain racing experience had honed his preference for raw, communicative cars over brute force. The 86 aligned perfectly with his philosophy. With nicknames like Carrot and Flashpoint, Tsuchiya's AE86 became a legendary competitor. Despite its modest power, it consistently outclassed more powerful rivals, securing 6 Fuji Freshman Series championships. With the competition comfortably behind him, Keiichi Tsuchiya decided to inject some fun into his racing. Like his idol Kunimitsu Takahashi, he found joy in sliding his car through corners, passing opponents with a flourish of countersteer. It was exhilarating to watch, but undoubtedly infuriating for his rivals. The AE6's dominance was so absurd that the Nismo team even investigated Tsuchiya for cheating. How could a small hatchback possibly outmaneuver their far more powerful cars? The truth was simple: skill, not sorcery. But the exaggerated drifts, the playful pushing of limits, and the sheer disregard for racing conventions turned him into a fan favorite. Inevitably, his antics caught the attention of the racing authorities. Repeated warnings did little to curb his enthusiasm. The Drift King moniker was born from both admiration and exasperation. Option Magazine saw an opportunity. What if they could capture Tsuchiya's magic on film? Weeks of filming followed, documenting his mastery on the treacherous UC Pass. The result was Plan B, a raw, uncut, and exhilarating glimpse into the world of drifting. It was a revelation. Never before had such footage been seen. The film's release sent shockwaves through the automotive world. Authorities, unaccustomed to such brazen disregard for the rules, demanded the tapes be pulled. But censorship only fueled desire. Plan B became a coveted underground sensation. Drifting, once a fringe spectacle, was catapulted into the mainstream. In 1986, Carboy magazine hosted the first ever drifting competition. The following year, Keiichi Tsuchiya and Option magazine launched their own drifting events, marking the birth of a new motorsport. Keiichi Tsuchiya and Option Magazine's brainchild, the Ekatan events, were a chaotic blend of car culture and camaraderie. These gatherings of automotive enthusiasts held throughout the 90s were less about competition and more about sheer enjoyment. A playful ranking system awarded drivers with marine-themed titles, from jellyfish to squid, adding a touch of absurdity to the proceedings. Tsuchiya's own parts company, K-Office, even adopted a cute octopus mascot, a nod to this whimsical spirit. As drifting gained momentum, Tsuchiya's influence grew. He became a pivotal figure in the world of competitive drifting, serving as a judge for major events like the D1 Grand Prix. His media presence exploded. He hosted TV shows, authored The Drift Bible, and was even rumored to be the inspiration behind the iconic anime Initial D. Despite his global fame, Tsuchiya remained grounded. Drifting, for him, was never about calculated precision. It was about raw emotion, the thrill of the slide, and the pure joy of pushing a car to its limits. His legacy is as much about the rebellious spirit of the early days as it is about the polished spectacle drifting has become. Keiichi Tsuchiya's penchant for showmanship grew alongside his racing prowess. As dominance over his competitors became routine, he began to push the boundaries of spectacle, drifting with abandon to keep audiences enthralled. This audacious style not only entertained fans, but also elevated the sport's popularity. In 2003, Tsuchiya retired, leaving behind a legacy of thrilling oversteer, checkered flags, and unforgettable moments. His journey from enthusiastic spectator to a global icon shows just how talented and passionate he was, and the kind of unbreakable spirit he possessed. Beyond the trophies and accolades, Keiichi Tsuchiya represents Japanese motorsports, a man who turned his love for drifting cars into a cultural phenomenon.